You stand at the edge of a world long forgotten, where the winds carry ancient secrets and the shadows pulse with the faint memory of gods. The air is thick, laden with the scent of damp stone and something deeper, something primeval, something chaotic. Tiamat. The word slips from your lips in a whisper, but it is not your voice. It feels older, heavier, like an echo from the past. You have heard the stories, passed down by the few who still dare speak her name. Yet, the true meaning, the true depth of her existence has eluded you for as long as you can remember. Who was she? What was she? Tiamat, mother of chaos, the dragon goddess, the serpent of the abyss. Her name has been buried by centuries of conquest, by the imposition of order, by the slow erosion of time itself. You wonder, why is it that such power, such ancient might, was so easily cast aside? You think back to the first time you encountered the whispers of her legend. They were not in any textbook, not in any old mythological tome. They were not in the stories that the priests and scribes allowed to survive. No, the whispers came from forgotten places, places where the winds no longer blow, where the earth has cracked open to reveal the secrets buried deep beneath, places where the gods themselves sleep. Tiamat. The wind seems to repeat, almost as if the name itself holds power. A shiver travels down your spine, your fingers curling into fists. There is something in her name, something in the way it resonates through your bones. Tiamat, the mother of all, the dragon of chaos, the destroyer of order. Do you feel it now? The weight of her absence? The silence that blankets the world after her fall? She has been erased, forgotten, yet something lingers. A trace, a memory. The dragons of old, the beasts she birthed, they still haunt the forgotten lands, do they? Not. As your thoughts drift, a cold, faint voice interrupts, low, hushed, whispering into your very soul. If you wish to know the truth, leave your world behind. Do not hesitate to listen, like, subscribe, and leave your thoughts in the comments. But first, turn the page. Trust the path that lies ahead. The words linger, a call to action, to the unspoken realm that waits. And as you heed this invitation, as your mind stretches to understand more, the veil lifts just a little. The story of Tiamat, of her fall, and of what was lost begins to unfold. Now, let us turn the first page. The sea vast, endless, and tumultuous. The waters were the first realm of the gods, the primordial chaos from which all things were born. You can almost feel the ancient tides pulling you toward them, pulling you into the depths where Tiamat's power first manifested. Tiamat, the dragon mother, was not created. She emerged from the very chaos that existed before time itself. She was born of the salt and fury, of the swirling waters where no light could reach, no land could be found. She was both the ocean and the storm, an endless tempest, a goddess, whose very essence was the embodiment of creation's wildest, most unpredictable forces. She was chaos incarnate, and in that chaos all things were possible. Before the rise of the great gods who would later shape the world, Tiamat was the ruler of this boundless realm. There was no order, no law, only the pulse of the ever-changing waters, the constant churn of life and death. From her, the first beings of existence emerged, and from her power came the creatures of the deep, the monstrous serpents, and the horrific beasts that roamed the chaos. In this primordial era, Tiamat gave birth to the first gods, the Anunnaki, the ancient ones who would later play their roles in the great cosmic drama. These beings were birthed from the sea, from the depths of Tiamat's waters, and they carried with them the potential for both creation and destruction. Yet Tiamat's children were not bound by the laws of order. They were born to transcend them, to embody the ever-shifting, ever-changing forces of the universe. But chaos, as it often does, became a danger to those who sought to impose order. The gods who came after Tiamat, gods of law, of structure, and of form, began to fear the chaos that she represented. They feared her power, her unpredictability, and her potential to unmake all that they had worked so hard to build. The battle between order and chaos was inevitable, but Tiamat was not merely a mother to her children. She was a force that could not be tamed. Her waters churned with such intensity that even the gods trembled. It was from this chaos, this unfathomable power, that the first heresy was born. To worship Tiamat was to embrace the unknown, the chaotic, the unpredictable. And in the early days of the world, those who followed her were branded as outcasts. Her cults, though never officially recorded, flourished in the shadows, in the forgotten corners of the world. They whispered her name, invoked her in the dark hours, and made offerings to her in the depths of sacred, forbidden waters. These heretics, these seekers of the chaotic truth, were condemned, their rituals forbidden by the gods of order. It is said that those who worshipped Tiamat would not only call forth her wrath, but also gain access to the primal forces of creation itself. They would see the world as it was before the gods imposed order, a world where the very fabric of reality was fluid, mutable, and alive, with the potential for endless creation and destruction. But the power that these heretics sought was too great to be understood, too dangerous to be controlled. For when chaos reigns, so too does destruction. And in that destruction, there are always those who will be lost. You stand at the edge of the abyss now, peering into the depths of this ancient world. The waters swirl, beckoning you forward, pulling you deeper into the legend of Tiamat. Can you feel it? The pulse of the world before order, the chaos that gave birth to everything, and perhaps to something even greater. But there is more, much more, that you have yet to uncover. The whispers grow louder now, and you know that you are not alone. Sensing your hesitation, the voice that has guided you before speaks again, soft and insistent. Tiamat. She was not just a mother, nor merely a dragon. She was something older, something forgotten by the gods of order. And in the chaos she gave birth to, there lies a mystery, yet unsolved. The voice fades into the distance, and you are left with only the soft sound of the waves, the eternal rhythm of the chaos that once was. And as you gaze into the waters, a sense of unease settles over you. You cannot deny that the truth of Tiamat's existence, her role in the birth of the gods, in the creation of all things, remains hidden, lost perhaps forever. But what if it isn't? What if you could find it, and so you continue to walk, to listen, to turn the page? The air grows thicker, darker, as if the very world trembles with the memory of the battle that tore the heavens asunder. A storm swells around you, though no clouds are visible, only the weight of a forgotten conflict that echoes through the ages. You feel it, deep within your chest, within your bones. A clash of powers, of forces so vast and eternal that they reshaped the very fabric of existence. The battle of Tiamat and Marduk is one that has haunted the dreams of mortals for millennia. It is a tale of order versus chaos, of divine ambition clashing with primordial fury. But like all such stories, it is more than mere myth. It is a memory of something real, something that once unfolded on the cosmic stage. Tiamat, the dragon, mother of chaos, had ruled the primordial sea for eons, a sovereign whose very breath could stir the waves and shape the stars. Her form was the embodiment of untamed power, her body a vast serpent that twisted through the darkness, her eyes burning with the fury of creation itself. She was chaos incarnate, and for a time no force could challenge her rule. But as with all things, time and destiny conspired against her. From the depths of the heavens Marduk arose, a god born of order, of structure, of law. He was the son of Ea, the god of wisdom, but his power was not wisdom alone. It was the power to impose will upon the world, to shape the raw elements into something manageable, something controllable. Marduk's rise was not quiet, it was a declaration. The gods of order, the ones who sought to tame the universe, saw in him a champion who could defeat the chaos that threatened to undo all they had built. And so, they called upon him to confront Tiamat. The battle was not one of swords or shields, but of forces that could not be understood by mortal minds. Marduk, wielding the winds and the sun, faced Tiamat, whose power was as old as the seas themselves. The fight raged across the heavens, from the deepest abyss to the highest sky, shaking the stars themselves. Marduk, with his divine weapons, struck Tiamat down. With each blow, the waters of chaos receded, and the primal seas that once ruled. The world began to retreat into the forgotten corners of the universe. But Tiamat did not go quietly. She fought back with the fury of creation itself, summoning the beasts of the deep, creatures of unimaginable power to aid her in her defense. They were the last of her children, beings born of her chaotic will, and they ravaged the heavens, tearing at Marduk with claws of night and venom of destruction. But Marduk was relentless. In the end, he struck Tiamat down with a mighty blow, cleaving her in two. From her carcass he formed the heavens and the earth, what we now call the world, and from her body's blood he created the rivers and the oceans. It is said that Marduk's victory was the beginning of all that is known, the birth of the cosmos as we understand it today. But there is something lost in this story, something darker. For while Marduk defeated Tiamat, did he truly defeat her? Or was something else, something older, cast into the void, forgotten by all? Some texts, buried deep in the crumbling ruins of temples long forsaken, speak of a different ending to this tale. In those forbidden scrolls, Marduk's victory was not a triumph but a tragedy. Tiamat, it seems, was not destroyed. Instead, she was cast into the darkness of exile, her chaotic essence bound and buried beneath the heavens she had once ruled. Her spirit, her power, though silenced, was never truly gone. You shudder as the thought presses upon your mind. If she was not truly defeated, then what became of her? What remains of Tiamat's wrath, her chaos, her children? These are questions, left unanswered, lost to the tides of time and the priests who sought to rewrite the past. One thing is certain, the gods of order feared Tiamat. They feared her chaos. They feared what would happen if the world ever returned to its chaotic origins, if the Dragon Mother ever awakened again, and so they buried her, silenced her name and made her worship illegal, casting out her followers as heretics, branding them traitors to the very fabric of the world they sought to build. But can such a force, such a primal power, be truly silenced? You cannot help but wonder. As the storm around you subsides, you are left in an uneasy silence. The battle, it seems, is far from over. Tiamat's spirit lingers in the air, in the very fabric of the world itself. Her presence is felt in the deep places of the earth, in the shadows that move just beyond the edges of your sight. And so, the mystery remains. What became of Tiamat after her defeat? What is the true cost of Marduk's victory? These are questions that have haunted scholars for centuries, unanswered and unresolved. Was Tiamat truly defeated? Or does she linger, waiting for the day when chaos will return to the world? The answers lie somewhere in the forgotten, in the spaces between history and myth. But one thing is certain, Tiamat's legacy is not easily erased. It is embedded deep within the currents of the world, and one day perhaps she will return. There are forms that the gods wear, and then there is the true form, the one that is far too terrible for mortals to comprehend. It is in this forbidden form that Tiamat once reigned, and in this very shape she became the embodiment of all that was beyond the reach of mortal minds. The serpent, the dragon, but not the ones of mythology, not the glorified, fanciful depictions that have survived in stories. Tiamat was something more primal. Her form was an abomination to the world of order. The very sight of it was enough to cause madness, to make the mind recoil in fear. Imagine a being with the body of a serpent, vast and coiling, a body so large it could wrap itself around the world itself. Her scales were the color of the void, black as the abyss, reflective, shimmering with an inner, unnatural light. These were not scales that could be touched, for they were made of something beyond material, an essence that defied form. Her body undulated through the very fabric of existence, bending reality as it moved, as if her every motion were a challenge to the laws of the universe. And then, her face. It was not a face that could ever belong to a mortal being. Her head was massive, crowned with horns that twisted upward, sharp and jagged like the mountains themselves. Her eyes, though, they were the worst of all. They burned with a fire that was older than time, a gaze that seemed to pierce the veil of reality and look into the very heart of all things. There was no malice in those eyes, no rage, no hatred, only a boundless, bottomless chaos. The gods knew this, and it terrified them. They feared Tiamat not only because of her power, but because of what she represented. She was not merely a being of destruction, but a symbol of all that could not be understood, a reflection of the unfathomable nature of existence itself. She was the opposite of everything they were, their order, their structure, their light. The priests of the early world feared to even speak of her true form. They recorded only her image as a half-serpent, half-dragon, knowing that any deeper exploration of her nature would bring only madness. Even the ancient Sumerians, who were among the first to record the myths of Tiamat, knew that some truths were too dangerous to record. But within their sacred tablets, within the hidden fragments of their scrolls, the descriptions of her form were there, coded, veiled in metaphor, always half-revealed. And yet, there were those who sought to uncover the full truth. In the ancient temples where the walls were carved with images of gods and monsters alike, there were secret rites performed by those who still dared to worship Tiamat. These rites were forbidden, their rituals lost to history, but they were said to involve the invocation of Tiamat in her true form. It was whispered that her cultists would gather in the deepest, darkest chambers, where no light could penetrate, and there they would call upon her to appear in all her terrifying, godly splendor. To behold Tiamat in her true form was to invite madness. The stories tell of those who attempted to look upon her face only to be driven insane by the sheer force of her chaos. Others went blind, their minds shattered beyond repair. A few are said to have been consumed entirely by the raw power she unleashed, disappearing into the dark waters where she dwelled. In those days, to invoke Tiamat was to invoke the very fabric of creation and destruction. She was not a god who could be understood, nor one who could be tamed. She was a force of nature, beyond the reach of those who sought to control her. Even Marduk, in his victory, never truly defeated her. He merely bound her, casting her into exile, but her true form, her essence, remained. Now, as you stand on the edge of history, you begin to understand the true nature of her being. Tiamat was not simply a mother of monsters or a goddess of chaos. She was a force that could never be wholly contained, never fully comprehended. Her essence permeated the very fabric of existence, stretching through time and space, a reminder that order is but a fleeting illusion in a universe that was once governed by chaos. And yet the question remains, what of her form today? Is it still out there lurking in the forgotten realms, waiting to reawaken? You can almost hear her call to you, faint but undeniable, a whisper in the distance as though her spirit, her true form, is waiting for the right moment to return. As you turn away from the darkness that threatens to consume you, a lingering thought passes through your mind. Perhaps the true horror is not in the face of the dragon, but in the chaos that lives within us all. The wind shifts again, this time carrying a scent of salt, of decay, and of something older still. The earth beneath your feet stirs, as if awakening from a long forgotten sleep. You are standing on the ruins of a city, its foundations buried beneath the sands of time, its history all but lost to the ages. This city was once the cradle of gods, the birthplace of civilization itself, and in its center, in its heart, was the forgotten influence of Tiamat, Eridu, the first city built upon the sacred waters of the deep, where the very essence of life was born. It was here, in the ancient Sumerian land, that the first whispers of the gods rose up from the chaos, where the waters of Tiamat herself were said to have flowed. She ruled these waters once, her chaotic power infusing every stone, every grain of sand. The people of Eridu revered the primordial seas, offering sacrifices to the ancient gods that had come before the gods of order. But above all, they held Tiamat in secret reverence, for she was the goddess who had birthed them all. But as time passed and the world began to turn toward order, Eridu became the focal point of a new divine power, the power of the gods who would come to rule the heavens. Marduk, the champion of order, the slayer of Tiamat, became the symbol of the new age. The city, once built upon the chaotic waters of Tiamat, slowly shifted toward the worship of gods who sought to suppress the chaos she embodied. And in doing so, the memory of Tiamat was slowly erased from the city's sacred halls. It is said that the priests of Eridu, in their quest to create a new world, sought to remove any trace of Tiamat's influence. They buried her name in the depths of their sacred texts, locked away her form in forgotten corners of the world. They replaced her with Marduk, with Enlil, with the gods of law and order, casting aside the primordial chaos she had once ruled. But Eridu's fall came swiftly. The city that had once stood as a beacon of human progress, of divine favor, slowly crumbled. The waters that had once flowed through its streets dried up, and the temples that had once sung praises to the gods of creation were abandoned. The people of Eridu turned their backs on the ancient chaos, and the city that had been the heart of the first civilization was lost to time, its glory fading into dust. But what if the downfall of Eridu was not merely the result of divine will, but something far darker, something that could not be explained by the gods of order? What if the memory of Tiamat, her influence, her chaos, was not erased but cursed to linger in the very stones of the city? As you walk through the ruins, you feel the weight of this forgotten history. The crumbled temples, the shattered statues, the empty streets, they all whisper her name faintly, as if the city itself remembers her. The influence of Tiamat is buried deep within these ruins, just as her spirit was buried by the priests who sought to control her. You can sense it, just beneath the surface. The raw power of the primordial waters, of chaos itself, still seeping through the cracks of Eridu's walls. There is a saying among the heretics who still worship the ancient gods, where Eridu fell, Tiamat sleeps. It is a belief, a truth whispered among the few who dare to seek the forgotten path. They believe that Tiamat's power has not been defeated, nor has it been erased. Instead, it has been hidden, buried deep within the earth, beneath the ruins of the once great city, waiting for the moment when the chaos will return. Could it be? Is it possible that Tiamat's essence still lingers here, beneath the sun-baked earth of Eridu, waiting for the time when the world will once again be torn asunder by her power? You cannot shake the feeling that you are standing on the edge of something ancient, something dangerous, a threshold between the world of order and the forgotten realm of chaos. The city may be lost, but the power that once ruled it is not gone. It is here, in the very air you breathe, in the silence that surrounds you. And with that thought, you hear the faintest whisper, a voice from the ruins, from the earth itself. It is a voice you have heard before, a voice that has followed you through your journey, through the labyrinth of myth and memory. Tiamat has never truly left, the voice says, barely a breath upon the wind. Her power sleeps within the ruins, within the waters that remain. One day when the world is ripe for chaos, she will awaken. Is it a warning or a promise? You do not know. But you cannot ignore the truth that has been laid before you. The world is not as it seems. Chaos, as much as it has been forgotten, is always present. And Tiamat, mother of all, dragon of the abyss, is never truly gone. You turn your gaze to the walls around you, feeling the weight of the ancient stones pressing in. The air is thick with the scent of old secrets, and for the first time, you feel as though you are on the edge of something unseen, something hidden, just beneath the surface of this world. On the walls of Eridu, before they were buried by the sands of time, there were symbols, cryptic, strange, and powerful. They were etched into the stone by hands long forgotten, hands that worshipped the very chaos from which the gods of order had emerged. One symbol in particular, more than any other, stands out in the fragments that remain, the dragon's eye, at first glance the symbol seems like little more than an eye. a circle with a slit, representing a gaze that sees beyond the physical realm. But when you study it more closely, something stirs within you, a primal recognition that you cannot quite place. The dragon's eye was no simple symbol. It was a curse in itself, a power that could not be easily understood. It was said to be the very eye of Tiamat herself, the gaze of the Dragon Mother, the creator and destroyer of worlds. This symbol was not just a mark, a sigil for worshippers to carve on their altars. It was a key to her power. To gaze upon it was to invite the chaos that Tiamat embodied into your soul. It was said that the eye could unlock the primordial forces of the universe, allowing those who truly understood its meaning to see the world as it had been before the gods imposed their order upon it. But the price for invoking the dragon's eye was steep. The ancient texts speak of a secret cult, one that was dedicated to Tiamat long after the world had turned away from her worship. This cult, known only in whispers as the Children of the Dragon, would invoke the symbol in their most sacred rites. To them, the eye was not simply an image. It was a living, breathing thing, capable of seeing into the heart of all creation. These rites were forbidden. The gods of order, Marduk, Enlil, and the others, could not allow the power of Tiamat's chaos to remain. They had already exiled her, silenced her name, and made her followers outcasts. But the Children of the Dragon persisted, holding their secret ceremonies beneath the earth, in hidden caves, away from the eyes of the world. In these rituals, the eye was said to glow faintly with the light of the abyss. The air would become thick with the scent of salt and sulfur, and those who stood before it would feel the presence of Tiamat herself, her chaotic essence flowing through them. They could see the world before the gods of order imposed their rule, the world where nothing was fixed, where the boundaries between life and death, creation and destruction, were fluid and ever-changing. But the vision came at a cost. Those who gazed into the dragon's eye were not just shown the secrets of the universe, they were also changed. The chaos of Tiamat would enter their minds, corrupting them, warping their perceptions of reality. Many of the cultists were driven mad, their minds torn asunder by the power they had sought to control. Others were consumed entirely by the eye, their bodies taken by the darkness, leaving only empty husks behind. The priests of Eridu, who once held dominion over the knowledge of the dragon's eye, sought to suppress it. They ordered the destruction of all symbols of Tiamat's power, commanding that the eye be erased from the world. Yet even as the symbol was outlawed, it remained in the shadows, on the walls of forgotten temples, on the lips of heretical priests, and in the secret rituals of those who still sought to commune with the Dragon Mother. It is said that the eye still exists, hidden in the depths of the earth, its power waiting for those who are foolish enough to seek it. The children of the dragon may be gone, but their legacy remains. And the eye, it seems, is still watching. You find yourself staring into the shadows as if the dragon's eye itself is watching you, waiting for you to understand the depth of the power you've uncovered. There is no turning back now. Tiamat's influence stretches beyond the physical world, beyond time and space. And the eye, the symbol of her chaos, has been left for you to find. Is this power something you can wield? Or will it, like so many before, consume you entirely? The question lingers in your mind as you take one final look at the ruins around you, the traces of the dragon's eye hidden in the corners of the world, waiting for the day when someone dares to awaken it once more. The city sleeps, and yet there is an undeniable hum in the air, a faint, almost imperceptible vibration, like the pulse of a heart long stilled. The ruins of Eridu stretch out before you, but your journey takes you deeper now, into the shadowy recesses where history has been buried, where the knowledge of forgotten gods lies hidden in dust and decay. It is in these secret places, away from the eyes of the world, that the true power of Tiamat once resided, within the cults that worshipped her, the heretics who dared to call upon the Dragon Mother, even after her exile. The children of the dragon, they were called, those who still held the ancient rites of Tiamat close, who invoked her chaotic power in hidden ceremonies. They were outcasts, cast aside by the gods of order, branded as traitors. for their very worship of Tiamat was considered heretical, a direct challenge to the world the gods had built. Their rituals were shrouded in secrecy, and few, if any, records remain to explain them. What we know of them comes from whispered tales and fragments of ancient texts that were quickly burned, hidden, or destroyed by those who feared the truth they contained. Yet the cultists of Tiamat did not cease. They continued to worship, in the dark corners of the world, in hidden caves and forgotten temples, away from the prying eyes of the righteous. Their ceremonies were conducted under moonless skies, in places where the earth itself seemed to pulse with the energy of the primordial chaos. It is said that they invoked Tiamat, not only in her most familiar form, that of the great dragon, but in the form of the sea itself, the untamed primal waters from which all life had emerged. They believed that by tapping into the essence of Tiamat's chaos, they could return the world to its original state, before the gods of order imposed their structure. Through her, they sought to transcend the boundaries between life and death, between creation and destruction, understanding that both were necessary for the balance of the cosmos. The rites were forbidden, of course. The very idea of calling upon chaos was too dangerous, too unpredictable for the established gods to allow. And yet the cultists persisted. They were drawn to Tiamat not because they sought power or glory, but because they sought something deeper. Return to the truth, to the primordial forces that had existed before time itself. They believed that in Tiamat, in the chaos, there was purity, a state of being untainted by the rules and laws of the world that had come after. But even among the followers of Tiamat, there were those who understood the true cost of their devotion. The chaos that they sought to awaken was not something that could be controlled. It was a force that would either consume them or transform them. Some of the cultists, in their blind pursuit of this ultimate truth, were said to have disappeared entirely, swallowed by the very chaos they worshipped. Others went mad, their minds shattered by the overwhelming nature of the forces they had unleashed. There were whispers of an ancient scroll, a testament to the final, most sacred ritual of the children of the dragon. This ritual was said to be the last step in their devotion, the moment when they would fully embrace the chaos of Tiamat and become one with it. The ritual involved the sacrifice of a priestess, one chosen for her purity, who would be submerged in the waters of the primordial sea, where the boundaries between life and death no longer held sway. The cultists believed that through this sacrifice they could open the gates to Tiamat's true power, allowing her chaos to flood the world once more. But the scroll, like so many other forbidden texts, was lost to time. Some say it was buried deep beneath the earth, hidden by those who feared its knowledge. Others believe it was destroyed in the Great Purge, when the gods of order sought to eliminate the last vestiges of Tiamat's influence. And yet, there are still those who believe that the cult of Tiamat lives on, hidden, secret. Their ceremonies, taking place in the shadows in the forgotten corners of the world. Some say that the cultists still seek the scroll, still search for the key to unlock Tiamat's power and bring chaos back into the world. Others believe that they are waiting for the day when the stars align, when the world is once again ready to embrace the chaos that gave birth to it all. As you stand in the ruins of Eridu, you feel the weight of this lost history pressing down on you. The cultists, the children of the dragon, they were not mere madmen or heretics. They were seekers, searching for something that the world could never give them. They sought the truth of the world's origin, the truth of chaos itself, a truth that the gods of order could never allow. But what if they were right? What if the chaos was not a curse but a blessing? What if the world that Tiamat had once ruled was the true world, and the order that followed was merely a lie? A chill runs down your spine as you feel the whispers of the cultists in the air, around you faint but unmistakable. You realize, perhaps for the first time, that the cult of Tiamat is not dead. It is merely sleeping, waiting for the right moment to awaken. And if you listen closely enough, you might just hear the call. The very ground beneath your feet seems to shift as you descend deeper into the forgotten echoes of time. You feel the subtle tremor of something ancient and primal, something that does not bend to the rules of this world. Chaos, It hums like a secret in the dark corners of your mind, a reminder of what once was and what could still be. The air is thick, dense with the weight of a truth you can barely comprehend. Tiamat's realm, the domain of chaos, was never meant to be understood, for chaos itself is beyond comprehension. To call it destructive is to misunderstand it entirely. Chaos is not destruction for the sake of ending. It is the beginning, the primordial force that creates, uncreates, and then creates again. Tiamat was its embodiment. She did not represent a god who sought to tear the world asunder for no reason. No, she was the chaos of creation itself. And what is creation but an endless cycle of birth, death, and rebirth? The gods of order, Marduk and his kin, saw Tiamat's chaos as a threat, not because it was evil, but because it undid everything they had worked to establish. Tiamat's power was the very antithesis of their laws, their structure, their carefully arranged world. Her essence made mockery of their careful designs. The world in their eyes needed order, a system to follow, a clear line between right and wrong, life and death. Without it, there was no stability. Without it, there could be no gods of law. But what price does order demand for its reign? What was lost when the chaos of Tiamat was suppressed? You stand on the precipice of understanding, your mind struggling to grasp the truth that has long been hidden. The gods of order, in their conquest of Tiamat's chaos, did not simply defeat her, they silenced her. They bound her to the deepest parts of the cosmos, where her power could no longer wreak havoc, no longer question their rule. Her followers were cast aside, driven into the shadows, and her name was erased from history. And yet, in the silence of that forced order, something began to decay. The gods of order had defeated chaos, yes, but in doing so, they had deprived the world of something vital, the spark of life itself. Tiamat in her chaos was not merely destruction. She was the wild energy of existence, the force that drove creation forward, always shifting, always changing. And without it, the world stagnated. The gods of order, for all their power, could not stop this. They could not prevent the slow decay that began to fester in the hearts of mortals, in the very fabric of the cosmos. In the absence of chaos, something grew, something dark, a slow, creeping unease that fed on the rigid, lifeless order that the gods had built. The world became an endless series of rules, of systems, of classifications that sought to contain everything. And in that containment, in that rigidness, something began to wither. The very essence of life, the unpredictable, the untamable, the unknown, was shut away. Without it, the world grew cold. Life became mechanical. Purpose became predictable. But life is not meant to be predictable. Life is chaos. It is movement. It is change. It is death and birth in an eternal dance. By binding Tiamat, the gods had severed that dance, and in its place something hollow grew, a void that no structure could fill. Tiamat was not a destroyer. She was a creator, a remaker. In her chaos, there was always the possibility of new life. There was always the possibility of change. In the world of order, there is no room for change. There is only what is known, the rules, the regulations, the fixed laws. But in the chaos of Tiamat, there is room for all things to be born anew. The price of order, then, is this: a world frozen in place, a universe that no longer breathes. The gods of order may have triumphed, but in their victory, they sacrificed the very essence of life. And as you stand here contemplating the silent ruins around you, a thought strikes you, a deep, unsettling truth. Tiamat's chaos is not gone. It lingers beneath the surface of this world, a hidden force that will never fully be erased. One day, when the world grows weary of its order, when the structure begins to crumble and the laws begin to break down, chaos will return. And when it does, it will not come as a conqueror, but as a remaker. The chaos will return to give life to what has died, to break the old order and create something new. It will return, not to destroy, but to rebirth, to restore the primal, untamable energy of existence that the gods of order have long tried to suppress. Tiamat, though buried, is never truly gone. Her essence is woven into the very fabric of creation, and one day, when the time is right, she will rise again, and the world will remember her chaos, her truth, for the first time. For what is the world without chaos, without the eternal dance of creation and destruction? Without Tiamat, the dragon mother of chaos, there would be no life. And without life, there would be no world. You take a slow, measured breath, feeling the weight of this truth settle over you. The price of order is heavy, and yet it is a price that cannot be paid forever. The whispers around you grow deeper, darker, as you approach the edge of the known world, into the space where myths are not just stories, but fragments of forgotten truths, lost to the winds of time. You feel as though you are standing at the threshold of something vast, something eternal, something that does not belong to the world of men. The air has grown thick, saturated with the weight of a mystery that refuses to be solved. Tiamat, the dragon mother, was cast into exile, but the true nature of this exile is not what it seems. The gods of order, led by Marduk, waged their great battle against her, and in the end, her form was split, her body broken, her power bound. But what does exile really mean for a being as ancient, as chaotic as Tiamat? Was she truly defeated? Or was her exile merely a veil, one placed over her existence by those who feared her power and sought to rewrite the world in their image? You feel the pull of this mystery, an unsolved riddle that calls to you like a siren song. Tiamat was not slain in the way the gods of order would have had history believe. She was not simply bound in chains, relegated to a forgotten corner of existence. There are texts, fragments of ancient scrolls that speak of her exile in hushed tones, words carefully chosen and cryptic, leaving room for interpretation. What if she was not truly cast away, but instead hidden, sealed away in a place where her chaos could not break the fabric of the world again? The exile was not a punishment, it was a containment. It is said that Marduk did not destroy her, but rather imprisoned her in the deepest crevice of the cosmos, beyond the reach of time and space. A place where chaos could neither spread nor ebb. A place where she could remain, ever waiting, ever watching, for the moment when the boundaries between order and chaos would once again collapse. But here is the true question. Was this exile the end, or merely the pause before her return? In the temples of Eridu, where the priests once gathered to channel the power of Tiamat, there were whispers of a hidden prophecy, one that spoke of her eventual release, a time when the world would again be ripe for chaos. These priests, though, part of the organized order, feared what would happen if Tiamat's power returned. They knew that her chaos was not evil. It was necessary. It was the primal force that kept the universe alive. Without it, the gods of order would rule unchecked, but also without the spark of life that chaos provided. Her exile was a necessary evil, they believed. But how long could it last? How long, indeed? The more you delve into the fragments, into the ancient scriptures that remain, the more you realize that this exile was not an absolute end for Tiamat. In her primal wisdom, in her chaotic essence, she must have known that there was a time for everything. A time for order, and a time for chaos. A time for creation, and a time for destruction. Perhaps she knew that one day, when the world grew, weary of its rigid structure, she would once again be summoned from the depths of exile. Perhaps she awaited the moment when the great cycle of existence would begin anew, when the gates would open, and her chaos would once again be free. This mystery, this unanswered question, was Tiamat truly cast out? Or was she simply waiting for the moment when the world was ready to receive her once again? The answer is buried somewhere in the folds of time, in the cracks between the worlds, and perhaps in the hearts of those who still dare to believe in the old gods. But it is a question that will never be fully answered. Not until the time is right. Not until the moment when chaos is once again ready to return. And yet, as you stand in this forgotten place, in the ruins of a world long lost to time, you feel something stir within you. It is as though Tiamat herself is watching you, waiting for you to understand the depth of the mystery, the profound truth buried in the space between exile and return. It is a truth that lies beyond the gods of order, beyond the rules that have shaped your world, a truth that speaks to the very heart of existence itself. Is her exile truly over? Has she merely been sleeping, waiting? Or is the world not yet ready to hear her roar again? The answers will not come easily. They never do. But you can feel them, just beyond the edge of perception, the chaos that lives within the world, within you. The whisper of Tiamat's return grows louder, and with it comes the certainty that one day, when the time is right, the gates of her exile will open once more, and the world will know the true meaning of chaos. For Tiamat is not gone. She never was, she simply waits. The silence around you deepens as you continue your journey through the ancient remnants of Eridu, the city that was once the cradle of gods, now reduced to nothing more than crumbling stone and forgotten memories. Yet within the decaying walls, a feeling lingers, a presence ancient and powerful, as if the very air is thick with the weight of something lost to history. You can sense it now beneath the surface, the truth of Tiamat's power that has been buried for millennia, locked away by those who sought to erase her from existence. The Lost Testament, an ancient, forbidden document that some believe contains the final truth about Tiamat's power. This text, if it truly exists, is the key to understanding the depth of her influence, the full extent of the chaos she embodied. For centuries, scholars, heretics, and seekers of forbidden knowledge have scoured the ruins, desperately trying to find it. Yet it has remained elusive, hidden by time, by those who feared its contents. But the question remains, what was so dangerous about this testament that the gods of order sought to suppress it so completely? There are rumors, dark whispers, that speak of its contents. It is said that the Lost Testament contains the final words of Tiamat herself, written in an ancient script that has long since faded from the world. These words are not mere poetry, not the grand tales of gods and monsters. No, the testament is said to be a direct channel to Tiamat's chaos, a guide to harnessing the primal forces that she once commanded. It is a map, a path leading to the heart of the very universe itself, one that can only be understood by those who are ready to embrace the true nature of existence. What if this testament is not just a record of Tiamat's life, but a blueprint for how the world was originally designed, a map to the chaos from which all creation sprang? It could be the key to returning the world to its original untamed state, where nothing was fixed, where all things could be born anew. The text is said to contain the rituals, the incantations, and the forbidden symbols needed to unlock this power. But those who have sought it have often found themselves lost to madness, their minds shattered by the sheer magnitude of the knowledge contained within. There are also accounts of a cult, one that formed in the wake of Tiamat's exile, who sought this very document. They believed that by using the Lost Testament, they could revive Tiamat's chaotic reign, bringing her power back into the world. But the last known record of this cult was centuries ago, and it is believed they vanished without a trace. Some say they found the testament and were consumed by the chaos it contained. Others say they were erased by the gods of order, who could not allow such dangerous knowledge to resurface. As you stand here in the ruins, you can't help but wonder, is the Lost Testament still out there? If it is, it must be hidden, buried in the deepest tombs, locked away in the places where even the gods dare not tread. But you can feel it. There is something in this very place, something that calls to you, as though the testament is within, your grasp just out of sight, hidden in the shadows of the past. In the ancient, forbidden temples beneath Eridu, there are rumors of a hidden chamber, one that contains the final resting place of the testament. It is said that the entrance is concealed, sealed by ancient wards that only those who truly understand the power of Tiamat can break. But to enter this chamber is to risk everything. The cultists who sought the testament paid the ultimate price. Those who went mad, those who were consumed by the very chaos they sought to control, were not just destroyed. They were reabsorbed into the chaotic flow of existence, their minds and bodies lost to the void. And yet, There is an undeniable pull, a force that draws you deeper into the heart of the ruins. You cannot resist the urge to uncover what lies hidden, to see with your own eyes the truth of Tiamat's power. What will you find if you continue on this path? Will you unlock the forgotten knowledge? Or will you, like those before you, fall, victim to the chaos that lies in wait? You cannot know for certain, but one thing is clear. Tiamat's power has not been fully erased. Her influence, her chaos, still pulses beneath the surface of the world, waiting for the moment when the gates will open and her full wrath will be unleashed. Perhaps you will be the one to open those gates. Perhaps the Lost Testament will be your key to unlocking a power greater than anything the gods of order ever imagined. Or perhaps the Testament will be your undoing, as it was for those who came before you. The choice is yours to make. But one thing is certain. The path you walk now is one that leads to Tiamat, to chaos, and to the heart of the universe itself. There is no turning back. The winds of chaos whisper through the ruins, carrying with them the sound of ancient, forgotten voices. Voices that once worshipped Tiamat and feared her fury. The air around you grows colder, the shadows deeper, as if something stirs beneath the surface of this forgotten world. And in that stillness you begin to sense it, the presence of something other. Something that once belonged to Tiamat, her children. Tiamat, the dragon mother, did not create only gods. She gave birth to monsters, creatures of such unimaginable power that even the gods of order quaked in fear. These were not the beasts of mortal imagination, the dragons and serpents of myth. No, these were something more primal, more real, beings born from the very heart of chaos itself. They were her brood, her offspring, and they carried within them the very essence of Tiamat's raw, untamed power. The ancient texts speak of these creatures in hushed tones, referring to them as the beasts of the void, creatures that slithered through the deepest parts of the cosmos, their forms shifting and changing in ways that no mortal could ever comprehend. They were born from Tiamat's chaotic will, her desire to give form to the formless, to birth something beyond the boundaries of the known world. Some were serpentine, their bodies coiling and uncoiling in ways that defied the very laws of nature. Others were monstrous, their forms ever-shifting, with mouths that opened into abyssal voids and eyes that burned with the fire of creation itself. These beasts were not bound by the same rules that governed the gods of order. They were free, unchained by the laws of the cosmos, and as such, they were feared by the gods and mortals alike. They roamed the dark spaces between worlds, in the realms where even light could not reach. And though many were slain in the great battles that followed Tiamat's exile, some are said to have survived, hiding in the forgotten corners of the earth, in places where the veil between chaos and order is thin. And as you stand in the ruins of Eridu, you feel it, the stirring of something ancient, something alive in the distance. It is faint at first, a low hum, like the distant rumbling of thunder. But then as you peer into the depths of the ancient stone, you see it, eyes glowing faintly from the shadows, watching you, waiting. The children of Tiamat have not all perished. They have lingered, hiding in the places where the chaos is still strongest, where the barriers between the known and the unknown are weakest. They wait for the time when the world is once again ready to embrace the chaos that gave birth to all things. These creatures, these beasts of the void, are not mindless. They are ancient, wise, and patient. Some say they are the last remnants of Tiamat's power, creatures that once served her, and now they wait, waiting for the moment when Tiamat's return will call them forth. You can feel their presence now, growing stronger with each step you take through the ruins. Their eyes watch you from the shadows, their forms shifting just beyond the corner of your vision. Some are said to be the size of mountains, their bodies writhing with a fluidity that defies understanding. Others are smaller, more subtle, their forms like shifting pools of darkness that move like liquid through the cracks of reality. But whatever their size, their presence is undeniable, and as you stand in the heart of Eridu, you realize the truth. Tiamat's chaos was not just her own power. It was a force that she shared with all that she birthed, all that she created from the void. The monsters, the beasts, the very creatures that once roamed the chaos before the gods sought to impose order, these were her children, and they still carry the legacy of her power. You take a step forward, your heart pounding as you sense the danger that lies ahead. You are no longer merely walking through the ruins of an ancient city. You are walking through a living memory, a place where the very earth hums with the power of Tiamat's chaos, where her children still prowl, waiting for the moment when their mother will return to reclaim the world. As the darkness closes in, around you, you realize that you are not just an observer in this ancient story, you are part of it. The beasts are not just creatures to be feared. They are heralds, signs that the chaos is still alive, waiting to break through into the world once more. And as you stand on the precipice, gazing into the dark abyss, you hear them, the whispers of the beasts, their voices like 1,000 serpents hissing in unison. They are calling to you, urging you to join them, to embrace the chaos that flows through your own veins. Will you listen? Will you answer the call of Tiamat's children? The stillness of the ruins presses upon you, as though the very air holds its breath in anticipation. The ancient city, long abandoned, seems to whisper its secrets to you through the cracks in the stone, through the cool shadows that stretch out across the forgotten streets. Beneath your feet, the earth feels strangely alive, as if the very ground you walk upon remembers the rituals that once took place here. The ceremonies, the invocations, the blood sacrifices to Tiamat, the dragon, mother of chaos. As you walk deeper into the remnants of Eridu, the atmosphere shifts. The weight of ancient worship hangs in the air. The echoes of forgotten prayers that once reverberated through the sacred halls of Tiamat's temples. These temples were not built to honor the gods of order, nor were they monuments to the gods who imposed law upon the world. They were built to honor Tiamat, she who was chaos incarnate, the mother of all that is untamed, unstructured, and free. The temples of Tiamat were said to be located beneath the earth, hidden deep within the catacombs of the ancient city. It was here that her most devoted followers gathered in the darkness to call upon her power, to worship the chaotic force that had once created the universe. The rituals performed within these temples were not simple prayers. They were acts of communion with chaos itself, attempts to harness the raw energy of the void. Her followers, known as the Children of the Dragon, believed that by invoking her essence in these sacred chambers, they could tap into the primal forces that lay beyond the world of order. But these temples were not meant to last. As the gods of order rose to power, and as Tiamat's influence waned, her temples were abandoned, their sacred halls left to crumble. The priests who once served her were either driven into hiding or erased entirely from history, their names forgotten, their worship condemned. What remains of these temples now is little more than the remnants of their former glory. Crumbling walls, shattered altars, and long-forgotten rituals inscribed in stone, buried under layers of dust and time. And yet, even in the silence of these ruins, you can feel the pull of something ancient, something alive. It is as though the very ground beneath you still hums with the power that once flowed through these sacred chambers, as if the echoes of Tiamat's presence still linger in the air, waiting to be rediscovered. You stand at the entrance of one such temple, the stone doorway cracked open, revealing a dark passage that leads deep beneath the earth. The shadows seem to stretch toward you, beckoning you into the unknown. This is the heart of Tiamat's power, the place where her followers once communed with her in the depths of the earth, in the cold, unyielding darkness where chaos reigns. As you step forward, the atmosphere grows heavier, thicker with the energy of the forgotten rituals. You can feel it, the presence of something ancient, something powerful lying just beneath the surface. The walls of the temple are lined with carvings, intricate depictions of Tiamat in all her chaotic glory, her serpent form, her dragon wings, her multiple eyes gazing out from the darkness. The symbols that cover the walls are unlike any you have seen before. Ancient sigils, forbidden marks that speak of powers beyond the comprehension of the gods of order. In the center of the chamber, you see an altar, a stone slab stained with the remnants of ages past. The blood of sacrifices long forgotten once flowed here, offerings made to the great mother of chaos. The air around the altar seems to vibrate with the power that once filled this space, a force that has not been completely extinguished. You sense that the chaos, though dormant, has never fully left. It is here, in the heart of Tiamat's temple, waiting for the right moment to reawaken. The deeper you go into the temple, the more you feel the power growing, the pull of the chaotic force that once shaped the world. The walls seem to close in around you, the shadows growing darker, more oppressive. You begin to feel the presence of the children of the dragon, those who once worshipped here, who once sought to commune with Tiamat in the deepest, darkest recesses of existence. Their whispers still linger in the stones, their voices carried by the wind, urging you forward, urging you to embrace the chaos that still resides in this place. But as you draw closer to the heart of the temple, a sense of unease settles over you. The power here is real. It is not some myth, some distant story of forgotten gods. It is a living, breathing force, a presence that you can feel in your very soul. Tiamat's essence, her chaotic energy, still lingers in this place, bound to the earth but never truly gone. You stop before an ancient stone altar at the center of the temple, where the symbol of the dragon's eye is etched into the surface. It is the same symbol you have seen before, the forbidden mark of Tiamat, the gaze that can pierce through the fabric of reality itself. You feel drawn to it, as though it is calling to you, urging you to understand. But what is the price of this understanding? To gaze into the dragon's eye is to risk your mind, your soul. To tap into Tiamat's power is to invite the chaos that lies dormant in the world to awaken. Can you truly embrace the forces of destruction and creation that she embodies? Can you withstand the pull of this ancient power, or will it consume you as it has consumed so many before? You feel a surge of fear, and yet something calls to you. The chaos, the darkness, the very essence of Tiamat. It promises freedom. It promises truth. But it also promises destruction, the end of all things as they are. The choice is yours. Will you leave this place, leaving Tiamat's power untouched? Or will you step into the heart of chaos, embracing the chaos that has shaped the world and will one day return to reclaim it? The air grows colder as you stand before the altar, the symbol of the dragon's eye casting long shadows across the temple floor. The power within this sacred space is palpable, an energy that hums through your very being, filling the silence with a feeling of otherness, of something beyond comprehension. You know now, with a certainty that chills you to your core, that Tiamat's essence still resides in this place, waiting for someone like you, to awaken it once again. Voice ancient and familiar, whispers from the darkness calling you to step forward. It is the voice of the heretics, the children of the dragon, the ones who sought to revive Tiamat's power and restore the chaos she once commanded. You feel their presence here, even though they are long gone. Their spirits linger in the stone, in the very foundation of this temple, waiting for the final forbidden ritual to be completed. The rite. This is what they had sought, what they had dared to perform. The final act of devotion to Tiamat, a ritual that would call her chaos back into the world. The stories are vague, pieced together from scraps of ancient texts, but the essence of the rite is clear. To awaken Tiamat's power, to bring chaos back to the world, a sacrifice must be made, a sacrifice of pure will, of the very essence of life itself. The rites of the children of the dragon were not meant to be simple rituals of prayer. No, they were rituals of rebirth, of undoing the law and order that had been imposed upon the world. They sought to tear down the walls between life and death, to break the chains that bound the world in the illusion of structure. They believed that through this act of ultimate devotion, they would bring Tiamat's chaos back into the universe, giving the world the chance to be remade, not destroyed, but reborn in the image of her chaotic power. It is said that the final rite requires the offering of a priestess, a vessel pure in mind and body, whose essence will merge with the power of Tiamat herself. In some versions of the rite The priestess must be submerged in the sacred waters of Tiamat's realm, where the boundaries between life and death cease to exist. In others, she is bound to the altar, her soul offered to the Dragon Mother in a final, desperate plea to bring about her return. The price of this ritual is steep, for once the ritual begins, there is no turning back. The chaos that is unleashed cannot be controlled. Those who performed the rite, if they were successful, were consumed by Tiamat's power, their minds and bodies torn apart by the force they had summoned. But their sacrifice was not in vain, for it is believed that in their destruction they opened the path for Tiamat's power to flow back into the world. As you stand in the heart of the temple, the power of Tiamat surging through you, you feel the pull of this final rite. The whispers grow louder, the voices of the heretics calling to you, urging you to complete what they had started. You are standing on the edge, teetering between the known and the unknown, between the world that is and the world that could be, a world in which chaos reigns once more. But can you carry the burden of such a choice? Can you truly embrace the chaos that lies beyond the veil of order, beyond the rules that govern the world? The knowledge of Tiamat's power, of the primal forces that shaped the universe, is within your grasp. But with that knowledge comes the inevitable cost. To awaken Tiamat's chaos is to risk everything, your life, your soul, your very sanity. The world will never be the same once the rite is completed, for once Tiamat's chaos is unleashed, there is no going back. The temple is still, waiting for you to make your decision. The dragon's eye glows faintly as if watching, waiting for your move. You can feel the pull of the chaos, the lure of the unknown, beckoning you forward. It promises freedom. It promises creation. But it also promises destruction. The tearing, a part of the old world. The birth of a new, untamed reality. The moment stretches infinitely, a heartbeat caught in the eternal pause between decision and action. You can feel the world holding its breath, waiting, as if the very fabric of existence is poised on the edge of change. The altar before you calls like a silent command, its cold surface echoing the pull of Tiamat's chaotic essence. You can feel her power. It is a current beneath your skin, a pulse in the earth that reverberates through your bones, through your very soul. The ancient voice of Tiamat's children, the heretics who sought this path long before you, whispers in the dark corners of your mind. It is not a question. They have already made their choice, and now you must decide whether to carry their legacy forward. The ritual is not one of blood alone, but of will, of the willingness to undo the world, to let chaos surge once again into the heart of creation. To awaken Tiamat's power is to break the boundaries of existence, to tear apart the order that holds everything together. The choice is simple, but the cost is everything. You close your eyes, and in the darkness behind your eyelids you see her, the Dragon Mother, a vast serpentine form coiled around the heavens, her eyes blazing with ancient fire. She stirs not with rage but with a quiet longing, a hunger for the world that she once ruled. The chaos of creation, the void that births all things, beckons to you. It is not destruction for the sake of destruction, but the promise of rebirth. Chaos is life. Chaos is creation. You open your eyes and the temple seems to close in around you. The air grows thick, vibrating with the presence of something ancient, something alive. The altar before you is no longer a mere object. It is a gateway, a threshold between worlds. And as you step closer, you feel the power of Tiamat fill the space between your thoughts, her chaotic presence sliding into your mind, curling around, your consciousness like a serpent wrapping around its prey. You reach forward, your hand hovering above the cold stone. The air is thick with the promise of power, with the weight of the ancient rite. You could stop here, turn away, leave Tiamat's power dormant. You could walk away and return to a world of order and structure. But the chaos calls to you. It calls to something deep within your soul, something untamable, something that belongs to the world before the gods of order imposed their rule. The choice is yours. But as you lower your hand to the altar, you know the truth. This is the beginning. The moment of Tiamat's return, the awakening of chaos itself. The world will never be the same. The veil between order and chaos will tear, and what was once bound will be set free. The altar responds to your touch. The air crackles with energy, and you feel the ground tremble beneath you. The power of Tiamat surges like a wave, crashing against the boundaries of existence, threatening to break them apart. You feel it. You are it. The chaos that was, the chaos that is, and the chaos that will be. Tiamat's voice, ancient and primordial, echoes in your mind. It is not a voice of anger, but of understanding, of acceptance. You are not merely my servant, my child. You are my equal. You are the chaos, and I am within you. Together we will break the world and make it anew. And with that final understanding, you become the chaos. The power floods your body, your mind, and in that moment everything changes. The world cracks open, the old order collapsing under the weight of a force that cannot be contained. The laws of nature bend and snap as reality itself warps and twists. The air around you darkens, and you hear the sound of 1,000 voices. The roar of 1,000 dragons, all rising at once. The ritual is complete. Tiamat has returned. The world is remade, but as the chaos spreads, you feel it. Something new, something darker. The world you have awakened is no longer the world of your past. It is a world where the boundaries are gone, where life and death are no longer separate, where time itself may bend to the will of chaos. You have unleashed something beyond comprehension, a force that has not existed in the world for eons, and as the dust settles, as the chaotic energy pulses through the air, you realize the truth. This world is not merely reborn, it is remade. But at what cost? The final whisper reaches you in the darkest corners of your mind, a whisper of possibility, of what is to come. Chaos is eternal. This is only the beginning. There are always more gods and more worlds to break. The next whisper is older still, but only for those who truly listened. And with that, the world of order begins to crumble and chaos rises once again. You step forward, drawn by the power that surges through you, and you feel the weight of the final choice pressing down upon you. There is no turning back. To complete, the right is to become the chaos, to embrace the primal force that has shaped the world from the beginning of time. Do you have the strength to face what lies ahead? Or will you, like the heretics before you, be consumed by the chaos you sought to control? The altar before you calls for a sacrifice, and the power of Tiamat waits in the shadows ready to break free. The final act is yours to perform. The question is, what will you choose? Will you awaken the chaos and allow it to remake the world, or will you walk away, leaving Tiamat's power to sleep once more? The choice lies in your hands. The dust stirs around you as the world begins to shift. The chaos, once dormant, now pulses through every particle of the air. It is not an explosive, violent force, but a subtle, creeping presence, alive in ways that nothing before could understand. You feel it, deep in your bones, in your very soul. Tiamat's return is not an event, it is a state of being. The temple, the altar, the ruins of Eridu, they all melt away in the wake of her power. The world itself has begun to unravel, its threads loosening as if they were always meant to fray, always destined to return to their chaotic origins. What was once fixed, time, reality, structure, now bends and warps in unpredictable ways, and you are at the center of it all. You stand, unmoored from everything that once held the world in place. The gods of order are no more. Their laws, their boundaries, they no longer hold any sway. Tiamat's chaos is the true law of existence, a law without rule, a truth without explanation. And yet, you feel the presence of the heretics, those who sought to unleash this power long before you. Their spirits, their voices, still linger, in the air like ancient prayers whispered from beyond the veil of time. They are no longer ghosts, they are the truth, the last remnants of a forgotten age. You hear their final words in the silence. their collective voices joining with Tiamat's. Chaos has returned, and with it, a new world will be born. The ground beneath your feet trembles again, and you feel something stir within you. This rebirth is not just for the world, it is for you. The choice was always yours to make, but the power of Tiamat has now claimed you, as it has claimed everything around you. You have become part of the chaos, not merely its observer or its servant. You are a conduit of destruction and creation, of life and death, a reflection of the eternal dance that has shaped all things since the beginning of time. But with this power comes a truth that you cannot ignore. This world, as it was, is gone. It has been undone, remade in the image of Tiamat's true essence. The world that you once knew is no more. In its place is a realm where all things are in constant flux, where life and death are mere concepts, subject to the whims of the chaos that now governs. There is no longer any certainty, no permanence. Everything, every being, everything, every thought exists in a state of constant becoming. You look to the sky, now cracked and torn, the heavens no longer fixed by the laws of the gods. They are empty, yawning voids, ready to be filled with new forms, new creatures, new beasts. For chaos is not merely destruction, it is creation. And as you stand here, a part of this vast, infinite expanse, you realize that Tiamat's return is not the end of the world, but the beginning of something far greater than you could ever comprehend. The final whisper of Tiamat drifts into your ears, softer now, as though it were not a voice, but the very essence of the universe itself speaking. Through you, it is not a command, it is an invitation. If your candle hasn't gone out yet, you might be ready for the next god. The words echo, fade, and with them, you realize the true depth of what has happened. The chaos has begun, yes, but there are more gods. There are always more. And in this new world, one where the lines between order and chaos have dissolved, there will always be new forces, new beasts, new paths to walk, if you are willing to listen. The whisper fades, and you are left standing in the infinite darkness at the edge of all creation, where the future is unwritten and chaos reigns supreme. If your mind has not shattered, if your soul has not been consumed, then perhaps you are ready for what comes next, for what is born from the breaking of worlds. For there is always a next God. There is always more, and you are no longer merely a part of this world. You have become it.